The morning after is always the truest test. Not of the feeling. The feeling was not in question, had not been in question since approximately the second night in the palace, when she had noticed which direction his footsteps went, and then spent 20 minutes explaining to herself why she had noticed. But of the things surrounding the feeling. The logistics, the geography, the practical, unyielding reality of two lives that had been built in entirely different countries on entirely different assumptions and were now, apparently, supposed to figure out how to exist in the same direction. She lay in the east wing with the morning light doing its familiar thing through the shutters and stared at the ceiling and thought, now what? The answer came, as it always did, through the lens. She got up and dressed and went to the roof terrace with her camera and shot the city at dawn for an hour, the way she had on the second morning. And the city was the same city, the same geometry, the same light arriving at the same angles, the same hawk riding the same thermal over the old quarter. And she was not the same person who had shot it then. And the difference between those two versions of herself was something she could feel in the way she composed each frame, the way her eye moved through the viewfinder with a quality of attention that had been altered permanently by 15 days of being seen by someone who paid the kind of attention she paid. She lowered the camera and looked at the desert on the horizon and thought, I could live here. Not as a conclusion, as a question she was willing to ask. He was in the breakfast courtyard when she came down, reading something on his tablet with the focused morning stillness she had come to love. That was the word. She was using it now. It had been true for days, and the using of it changed nothing except the relief of accuracy. He looked up when she appeared. The thing that happened on his face happened, and she let herself see it fully without cataloging it or filing it or doing any of the careful management she had been doing with it for a fortnight. Good morning, she said. Good morning. He set down the tablet. Did you sleep? Some. She sat across from him. Between them, the bread, the olives, the coffee, all the familiar architecture of a breakfast that had stopped being a stranger's breakfast approximately 10 days ago. You? Some, he said, with the micro-expression, the real smile. She could see it completely now. She knew every variation, and she thought, there it is. There is the whole face. I have been watching it come out of hiding for 15 days, and here it is, in the morning light, over bread and olives, because of me. She poured the coffee. He watched her do it. Neither of them said anything for a moment, and the silence had the quality she had come to recognize as the best kind. Not the absence of things to say, but the presence of enough ease to not need to say them. The legal team called at 6, he said eventually. Already? Nassim's lawyers have seen the communications archive. They've asked for a pause in proceedings. He said this with the level tone he used for information that was good news, but not yet the destination. A pause is the first step toward a settlement. His position is no longer defensible, and his lawyers know it. How long? Weeks, not months. The attorney used the word unassailable again. He seems to like it. It will be over before winter. And then? And then the trade agreement resumes. The alliance delegation has been briefed on the full context. Nassim, the information campaign, all of it. 2 of the 3 delegates have formally expressed continued commitment to the agreement. The 3rd is still processing. He'll get there, she said. You said he arrives at conclusions in his own time. He does. Karim looked at her. My father spoke to him last night for an hour. By the end of it, the man was asking about investment timelines. My father is very persuasive when he chooses to be. I know, she said. He had me calling him Faisal in under 3 minutes. Tariq arrived at 7:45, which was earlier than his usual appearance, and told her he had been waiting just out of sight until the conversation reached a point he could join without disrupting. He sat down, poured himself coffee, looked at both of them with the expression of a man whose predictions have been verified across 15 consecutive days, and said, "I would like it noted, formally and for the record, that I knew." He looked at Karim. "I told you at the airport, day 1. He looked at Lara. "I told you on the terrace, day 2. He picked up his coffee. "I am never wrong about these things, and I think we should all simply acknowledge that and move forward." Karim said, "Noted." Lara said, "Noted." Tariq nodded with the serenity of a man whose ledger is clean and drank his coffee. Then, "Also, Maya called me this morning. She sends her love and wants a full debrief and says if Lara doesn't call her in the next hour, she is getting on another plane." "I don't think she's joking." "She's never joking," Lara said, and reached for her phone. She called Maya from the roof terrace at 8, where the light was still doing extraordinary things, and she realized, going to miss this light with a specific and physical ache when she left. If she left. She was still asking the question, not answering it yet. "Tell me everything," Maya said, at the volume she reserved for maximum emotional investment. "Good morning to you too." "Lara Voss. I have been awake since 4 a.m. Eastern Time, and I deserve everything immediately." So she told her. Not the operational details, those were Karim's to tell or not tell, but the rest. The courtyard, what she had said, what he had said, the fountain, the 400 years. Maya listened in the way she listened to things that mattered, without the commentary, without the mm-hms, with the complete and serious attention she brought to things she would carry carefully. When Lara finished, Maya was quiet for 4 seconds. Another record. "Are you happy?" she asked. Lara looked at the city in the morning light, the desert at the horizon, the hawk in the thermal, the palace below her with its 400 years of standing. "Yes," she said. "I think I'm going to be very happy. I don't know yet how or where or what it looks like practically, but yes." "Then that's the part that matters," Maya said, with the simplicity of someone who has always known the difference between the essential and the complicated. "The rest is logistics." "You say that like logistics are simple." "Logistics are never simple," Maya said, "but they're solvable. Happiness isn't always. Also, I need you to know that I am absolutely taking full credit for all of this. You flew here on 2 hours' notice." "Exactly," Maya said. "Full credit." The conversation with Karim happened that afternoon, on the roof terrace because everything important seemed to happen on the roof terrace, in the late light that was becoming her favorite hour in a city full of favorite hours. He had come up with 2 glasses of water and the directness that was simply how he was made, and she had her camera and the knowledge that this conversation needed to happen in daylight, clearly, without the particular distortion that late nights and high emotion could introduce into things that needed to be sturdy. "New York," he said. "New York," she confirmed. "Your work is there. Your life is built there." "My apartment is there," she said. "There's a difference." She looked at him. "My work goes where the light is. It always has. That's always been the point of it. Zafaran is..." He paused, choosing precisely. "This is not a simple place to build a life. Not for someone from outside it. There are considerations, cultural, political, practical, that I won't pretend don't exist. I know. My father's position means that my life has a public dimension that... Karim. She looked at him steadily. I've been in Syria and Mozambique and 3 violent elections. I've navigated press restrictions in 4 countries that actively didn't want me there. I was kidnapped in your desert and came back voluntarily. I am not frightened by complicated. He looked at her for a moment. No, he said quietly. You're not. I'm also not asking you to have the whole answer today, she said. I'm not asking you to solve the geography or the logistics or the public dimension. I'm asking you... She stopped, found the right words. I came here to photograph ruins. I found something that isn't ruined at all. I would like, if you're willing, to find out what it looks like with more than 15 days in it. I believe those were roughly your words. The real smile. Complete, unguarded, the whole face in the afternoon light, and she thought, there it is. That's the one. That's the photograph I've been waiting for since the torchlight in the compound, and I am not taking it because some things are more true than the frame that would hold them. They were my words, he said. Good words, she said. I thought so. He reached over and took her hand with the same unhurried certainty as the kitchen table, as the corridor bench, the same gesture that was simply his, warm and deliberate and completely without performance. Stay, he said. Not forever. Not with an answer to every question. Just stay a little longer. Let me show you the rest of it. She looked at their hands and then at the city and then at him, this man who had driven into a desert in the dark and proposed marriage with the tone of a logistics problem and written a note about lamb and said, I trust you and don't, and you came back, and I didn't arrange the delay, and I don't want to be slow anymore, and had now said, stay, in a voice that was the quietest and most certain thing she had heard in 15 days of considerable certainty. She thought about New York and the apartment and the magazine and the assignments that would come regardless of where she was standing when she accepted them. She thought about the 43 photographs and the hawk in frame 17 and the watchtower still waiting for what it was built for. She thought about a woman in this same city 20 years ago with a camera and a good eye. She thought, the light here is exceptional. She thought, I know where I am. She said, yes. The week that followed was the quietest of the 15, which was not the same as uneventful, only that the events had changed category. The legal proceedings moved with the deliberate momentum of things that have become inevitable. Nassim's lawyers negotiated. Yasmin departed for Brussels on a Thursday with a cooperation agreement and 2 pieces of luggage, and an expression at the airport of someone who has put down something heavy and is relearning how to walk without it. The Third Alliance delegate called the Sheikh on Friday and asked about investment timelines with the enthusiasm of a man who has decided he was on board all along. And Karim showed her the rest of Zafaran. Not the official version, not the diplomatic circuits and the ministerial buildings and the palace's formal face. The other version, the old quarter at 7 in the morning, when the bread sellers were setting up and the light came sideways down the narrow streets. The harbor at sunset, where the fishing boats came in, and the catch was sold on the dock with the cheerful aggression of a market that had been operating in roughly the same way for 400 years. The northern coast, where the desert met the sea in a collision of landscapes that had no right to be as beautiful as it was. A village in the eastern hills where his grandfather had been born, and where an elderly woman recognized him by his eyes and made them tea and told Lara, through his translation, that she had been waiting for Karim to bring someone home for years and that it was about time. Lara photographed all of it, the bread sellers and the harbor and the collision of desert and sea and the elderly woman's hands around the tea glass. She filled 2 memory cards and started a third. She filed 12 photographs with her magazine from the palace Wi-Fi, and her editor called, audibly confused by the warmth in her voice, and said the plateau series was extraordinary, and when was she coming back? Soon, she said, a few more weeks. A few more weeks, her editor repeated. You've been there for 3 weeks already. The light, she said, it keeps being exceptional. She was in the library on the 22nd evening, going through the day's photographs on her laptop, while Karim read at the desk across from her, the reading glasses on, the document dense, the lamp warm above them both. The ordinary, comfortable silence of 2 people in a room together who have stopped needing to account for the silence. She was on photograph 47, the elderly woman's hands around the tea glass, the best frame of the day, when she looked up and found him already looking at her over the reading glasses, with an expression that had all the warmth of every version of him she had catalogued, and something new besides, something that lived in the territory she had no name for yet, but was in no hurry to name. What? She said. Nothing, he said. Then, I was thinking. About? He took off the reading glasses and set them on the document and looked at her with the directness he reserved for things he had decided to say completely. The dissolution papers were filed because the marriage was contracted as a legal instrument, a temporary measure. I find I am no longer interested in temporary measures. She looked at him across the library with its books and its lamp and its photograph of the plateau on the wall. She felt the question arriving before he asked it, felt it the way she felt the light before it hit a composition, the knowledge of what was coming, the understanding that this was the frame, the one she had been moving towards since the desert road and the wrong turn, and the warmth of a gun barrel in the sun. Karim, she said, very quietly, Are you asking me to marry you? Again? He looked at her steadily. More deliberately this time, he said, and with considerably more notice. Also, without a checkpoint involved. The lamp above them, the photograph on the wall, the palace holding its 400-year breath. She put down the laptop. She looked at him. She said, Ask me properly. Next chapter. Ask me properly. He asked her properly. She said yes. Maya, when informed, said she required a minimum of 6 months' notice for the dress situation, and that she was taking full credit for this, too. Tariq wept. Again. He attributed it to nothing,